Hello. The drums of war are beating again in Yemen. A series of recent incidents suggests that both Iran and Saudi Arabia are more assertively supporting their Yemeni allies at the risk of shattering an informal 4-year ceasefire in the kingdom's war against Iranian-backed Houthi rebels. The recent incidents stand in stark contrast to the kingdom's tacit outreach to Iran. Saudi Arabia sent a delegation to this week's funeral proceedings for Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, Iran's assassinated supreme leader, enabled the indirect sale of 5 aging Boeing 777 200 ERs to an Iranian airline, and proposed a post war regional security architecture that would include Iran. Moreover, Saudi Arabia, which intervened in Yemen in 2015 to counter Houthi military advances, has not closed the door on a negotiated resolution of the conflict. The political solution remains on the table: power sharing, which could save the Houthis from destruction. The Houthis remain a Yemeni player with the right to be a partner in power, not to dominate it, said Abdurrahman al-Rashid, a Saudi columnist who often reflects official Saudi thinking. Fueling the rising tensions are rival perceptions of windows of opportunity created by the failure of the US-Iranian memorandum that extended the Iran war ceasefire and created the basis for negotiations to end the war to address Iran's support for its Arab partners, including the Houthis. Saudi Arabia and the internationally recognized Yemeni government believe that public discontent in Houthi-controlled areas, repressive rule, and Iran's reduced ability to arm and fund the group have significantly weakened it. For its part, Iran sees virtue in increased threats to shipping in the strategic Bab al-Mandab waterway that links the Suez Canal and the Red Sea to the Arabian Sea and the Indian Ocean. Complementing Iran's insistence on control of the Strait of Hormuz, threats to Bab al-Mandab shipping increase Iranian leverage in negotiations with the United States as the U.S. maneuvers to undermine the Islamic Republic's hardline approach to the talks. The ability to threaten both choke points simultaneously could dramatically increase pressure on global energy markets and drive up oil prices during a future crisis, said the former chief of the Israeli military's Iran analysis, Danny Denis Citronovich. Talib al-Hasni, the editor of Al-Masira, a Houthi-affiliated television station, suggested that Saudi Arabia would tread carefully because it fears it would not enjoy the U.S. support it had in the early years of the Yemen war. Mr. al-Hasni said the United States was unlikely to support the Saudis in renewed fighting because the kingdom had failed to join the U.S. attacks on the Houthis in 2025 after the group attacked international shipping in solidarity with Gaza. The U.S. and the Houthis ultimately agreed to an Oman-brokered ceasefire that obliged the Houthis to halt their attacks on all shipping, except for Israel-related vessels. Raising the stakes, the Houthi Foreign Ministry suggested the Saudi government should turn its attention to the oil fields, Aramco, Yanbu, other ports, the stock market, Vision 2030, and other projects, so that it may come to its senses and realize the magnitude of the disaster that would befall it should it commit any folly. The ministry was referring to the kingdom's national oil company, the foremost Red Sea oil export terminal, and its economic diversification plan. Saudi Arabia has circumvented the Strait of Hormuz by pumping oil from its eastern oil fields to Yanbu on the Red Sea. Tensions in Yemen heightened as a result of renewed fighting in Yemen's key Hodeidah governorate, home to Yemen's main Red Sea port, and to other provinces. The interception of shipments of drone and explosive boat-related equipment to the Houthis, and the first direct flight from Tehran to Houthi-controlled Sana'a, breaking an 11-year-old Saudi blockade of the Yemeni capital's international airport. The ministry's warning followed Saudi Arabia's harsh response to the arrival in Sana'a of a flight from Iran's privately owned Mahan Air, the recipient of the Boeing 777s, that picked up the Houthi delegation attending the proceedings of Mr. Khamenei's funeral. The Yemeni government's armed forces spokesman, Brigadier General Abdul Majali, claimed that the Mahan air flight had transported Iranian military personnel and Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps personnel to Sana'a on its inbound flight. Saudi Arabia's defense ministry spokesman, Major General Turki al-Malik, warned that the kingdom and its allies would respond with full force and unprecedented strength to any attempt to target Saudi Arabia or undermine Yemen's sovereignty. Mr. al-Malik neither confirmed nor denied Houthi claims that the group had intercepted Saudi fighter jets attempting to prevent the Iranian aircraft from landing in Sana'a. Mr. al-Malik's warning came after the internationally recognized government asserted that the Mahan air flight challenged its exclusive authority over Yemen's airspace, airports, and international crossings. The Saudi response may be put to the test if the Houthi delegation returns from Tehran to Sana'a aboard another Iranian flight, with the Houthis suggesting that this week's Mahan Air arrival was the first step in an effort to challenge the blockade of the airport and Houthi-controlled ports. The Houthis used the plane incident to highlight their mass mobilization in advance of the tensions potentially sparking renewed civil war, with mass protests near the airport demanding its reopening and thanking Iran for breaking the blockade. The Mahan air flight landed in Sana'a barely a week after a Saudi-backed Yemeni militia intercepted in Bab al-Mandab a Houthi-bound vessel carrying materials for the manufacturing of drones and explosive boats. The interception, the third in the last year, could prompt Saudi Arabia and other Gulf states to increase pressure on the Trump administration to insist that Iran end its support for the Houthis and other non-state Arab allies, although the U.S.-Iran Memorandum of Understanding does not refer to the Islamic Republic's regional partnerships. Iran has refused to discuss its partnerships, viewed by the Gulf states and Israel as an interference in the internal affairs of third parties in the negotiations that led to the memorandum. The memorandum's only reference to interference is limited to a U.S. and Iranian commitment to respect each other's sovereignty and territorial integrity, and to refrain from interfering in each other's internal affairs, not to third countries such as Yemen, Lebanon, and Iraq. While publicly embracing the memorandum, Gulf state officials note that the agreement failed to address the two issues that concern them the most, alongside the future of the Strait of Hormuz: the curbing of Iran's ballistic missiles program and Iranian support for Arab militants. The deal was incomplete, addressing one aspect of the nuclear file, while leaving out important issues more connected to the security of Gulf states, such as support for armed groups, regional interventions, and the development of ballistic missiles and drones, said Saudi columnist Ibrahim al-Othaymin. Thank you for watching or listening to The Turbulent World. I'm honored that you spend time with my work, given that we live in a world of information overload, in which time and attention come at a premium. The Turbulent World offers in-depth, independent, evidence-based, and original geopolitical analysis of the Middle East, the Muslim world, and the rise of civilizational leaders that goes beyond what mainstream media offer. Paid subscribers make the Turbulent World possible. They have full access to all postings, podcasts, and videos, as well as the newsletter's multi-year archive. They can post comments and get one-on-one briefings on demand. Please consider becoming a paid subscriber. This is as good a time as any other to subscribe. You can do so by going to jamesmdorsey.substack.com. Thank you, best wishes, and see you soon.